Welcome back to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is the finals of a weekly tournament featuring the man right over here in the top right hand corner. By many considered to be the #1 Protoss in the world, but honestly, truth be told, I haven't seen him play all too much over the last month or so, mostly because there have been so many amazing games played at offline events. This man though, he doesn't attend any of them, right? He doesn't go to any offline tournaments, he exclusively plays online. And he goes by the name of MaxPax. Now I'm sure MaxPax has been watching those games as well, so I'm curious to see if maybe he's been inspired by, say for example, the quick high Templar switches that a lot of the top level Protoss players have been enjoying quite a bit, especially Classic. He seems to be a big fan of it. Anyways, his opponent down in the bottom left, a man who did compete at the EWC, a previous world champion of StarCraft 2. We're looking inside of the main base of ByuN. Alrighty, ByuN going up against MaxPax in a best of 5 series with a few $100s on the line. Very curious though if MaxPax has changed anything, right? So I think it's fair to say that Classic is the most impressive Protoss over the last few months. But Classic still has a little bit of that, how do we call it? A little bit of that Protoss in him too, where he just plays very, very messy. I mean, most of the time it's clean, but 5% of the situations or so we're like, oh god, Classic. Why didn't you have a unit on hold position? How come you didn't see the Widow Mine drop? Right, there's all these little bits of refinement that are still sometimes lacking. And I feel like when it comes to like grinding out quote-unquote perfect Protoss gameplay, MaxPax is really the one to look to, because he's been extremely good over the years. And even though he doesn't play in offline tournaments so much, I think over the last, at least like the last 3-4 years or so, he has had moments where he just looked pretty much unbeatable. You look at his games and you just don't even really know what the opponent can do against it. And yeah, maybe strategically he's not the most flashy player out there. Kind of like, for example, the way that, well, Serral plays StarCraft. I don't think anybody would really call Serral a particularly flashy player. Or similar to, for example, Clem, right? Clem also not considered to be a very flashy player, but in a very similar approach, I think MaxPax is perfectly capable of, well, playing very clean StarCraft and maybe making it look relatively easy when, of course, in reality, it really isn't. Now, nice little snipe right here with that first Reaper that went across the map. It was hiding, waiting for that Adept to leave. Great timing, of course, by ByuN. It was, however, double Adept, so Adept into Adept, making it all a little bit tricky. Looks like we're gonna see a Cyclone here nice and early as well for ByuN. That should allow him to basically get rid of any of this early game Adept aggression. Looks like the Reaper over here did end up going down, but there's a Cyclone now starting up. In-base command center here for ByuN. Not taking any risks anymore. Well, gets another probe. Yeah, not bad. 2 probes for a Reaper is definitely the best case scenario. Yep, especially if there's Adepts out, they can, generally speaking, well, chase you down relatively easily. Good timings here as well, though, by MaxPax. Gets out of there. He knows that at about 3.5 minutes or so, with it as exact opener here from the Terran, the Cyclone is gonna pop out. And the Cyclone's very good, especially at killing Adepts in the early game in this particular matchup. I think in this instance, though, it's waiting for its private jet. Maybe not. Maybe the Marines are going to be picked up in the private jet. Cyclone is going to be forced to take its little wheels across. Sad moment here. Yeah, it's going to be used for defense. MaxPax, though, seems to be anticipating the move out of one of those medevac drops. And he moves in right about right now. It means that he can get some damage done here potentially in the natural expansion of the Terran. But it also means, of course, that he may very well be in trouble if, nice scan, if indeed that medevac drop does commit. It looks like, okay, ByuN decided not to take any chances, brought the medevac, well, all the way back home. And I think, honestly, as the dust settles here, this is a very good start for ByuN, right? I mean, obviously, this isn't really going according to plan, but only 2 SCVs for that. I don't think it's a bad trade whatsoever. Third Nexus has been delayed for quite a while, too. So MaxPax is only just now starting that one up. It's not like he is super committed, right? But this is a triple gateway start. We already have a robo facility too. Looks like somehow, some way, the medevac slipped through the cracks. Just maximizing the damage that the Cyclone can deal. Cyclones usually do fall off in this matchup. And, well, I guess ByuN really just wants to get as much usefulness out of it as possible. Just parking it over here is already, I guess, helping him out in the base defense too, because it's occupying a bunch of those stalkers. Okay. Now, Cloaking Field is done. Well, very soon anyways. When this Banshee gets across the map, it will be done. And that is going to be something that, well, MaxPax wouldn't necessarily expect with a start like this. He hasn't seen everything. He doesn't know exactly what the follow-up is. And this is, of course, ByuN in a nutshell. Looks like some of the units are need to be juggled. Jeez, okay, that was so close. Does ultimately keep that Prism alive. Nice little bit of movement, though, across the board. But what about the Cloaked Banshee? This is such a ByuN-esque way of following this up, so technically, this can get countered very easily, but there's only a single observer out right now, and that observer is right over here inside of the natural expansion. So this is gonna, well, at least deal some damage, as now we do see a recall on the observer to try and bring it back home. Are we just gonna sack it? Nope. It is gonna stay alive and potentially deal damage again in a moment. Prism also decides to move back in, though. It is only 2 Stalkers and a very low HP Prism. But it's an eye for an eye for now. Both players have taken a lot of damage. Cyclone drop continues as well. Man, I love the micro focus of both of these players. It's really fun to see. Looks like we pick up once more at the absolute lowest possible HP count. Now, what about this big attack, though? There's already 2 siege tanks out, and they're running away from the Immortal. I don't think that MaxPax really has enough just yet, but reinforcements are coming. He doesn't yet have charge done, and that's making all of this a little harder. Immortal right now, though, has turned its guns onto the siege tank, and that is always really trying to target fire down. Ultimately, I do believe that reinforcing units here for the Protoss are gonna be able to clean this up. But man, is this messy. Extremely scrappy game from the both of them. Looks like there's a reinforcing siege tank showing up. The medevac drop with the single cyclone in it also, once more, is going to town. We've got the Prism making its way back towards the natural expansion of Taran. Man, what an absolute mess. Literally 1 HP right here on the Cyclone. But with good micro, okay, not like that. You're gonna be able to keep it alive for a long time. In the meantime, the Cloaked Banshee goes back in. We do have multiple observers available, but they are not close enough at the start of that fight to really shut this down. And man, as the dust settles, oddly enough, we find ourselves at a near identical supply count for both players with a near identical worker count too. Isn't that kind of sick? High-level StarCraft has become so ridiculously close lately, where like everybody is just good now. Like a few years ago, the level really wasn't this high, but yeah. Just don't miscontrol too much. Try to deal as much damage as possible. Try to really, well, make sure you don't take too much damage in the process, and you'll probably be fine. Now, here's the big problem, though. Terran doesn't really enjoy playing this phase of the game very much. Because, at this point, as we have the Banshee once more going back in for more, at this point, MaxPax is starting up the transition towards Storm. As Psi Storm has been a massive thorn in the side of Terran players lately. Protoss players squeezing more and more juice out of it, although, my god. Okay, the Banshee sacrifice, it's 31 kills. That's ridiculous. Anyway, it's one of the things that Protoss players have been utilizing more so as of late. Specifically, we do have to start up the upgrade, Max. There we go. Specifically because of that energy recharge ability. Viking is finally going to be able to shut that Prism down for good. Looks like the command center was delayed for just a moment, but SCV is going to be able to finish it up eventually. Group of Stalkers waiting to maybe intercept another medevac drop. Okay. So, what ByuN would love to do is go across the map and hit the opponent in the face with this army. And if he can do so, nice snipe right there on the siege tank. If he can do so before Storm is done, it has a real potential to finish the game. However, with Storm, it can change the tide of battle so quickly. There's only a few medevacs available. They don't have a ton of energy. Big Zealot run by also set up here. This is really only just to buy time. Any second that is bought right now brings him closer to Psi Storm, and that's exactly where we have arrived right now. ByuN scans, sees the Templar, and now he will see the first Storm as well. Because of the energy recharge, you can expect quite a bit more. Looks like the Zealots decide to return back home because there's still no third command center for them to run into, so no reason to sacrifice yourself at the wall. ByuN is gonna go, though, for a little bit of elevator play. Straight into the main base. Stalkers will blink right before the Widowmine can connect. Storm as well onto the siege tanks. And this Terran army here is gonna get absolutely massacred. What about the drop, though, inside of the main? Can this, at the very least, justify the attack? Marines are still, well, just used as a meat shield for now. ByuN is settling for mostly just, well, some tech damage here and whatever he can grab inside of the main base of the Protoss, but he was probably dreaming of a bit more damage than what he just achieved. Okay. Now, the third command center was built, of course, pretty late, all things considered, but it is now available, and it'll be up to ByuN to try and land it on the low ground. MaxPax has a few options. Either he goes for an attack of his own, which seems to be what he does, or he expands behind this, or honestly, he can even go for both. It depends on how he gauges the situation right now. Does he believe he has an opportunity to win the game here? It's a little difficult to say, but Storm is really nice. Okay. Yeah, just denying the command center here is also good, right? Just, oh, Medevacs misrallied. That's a bit sloppy. Looks like maybe an all-army hotkey or maybe a distraction. These were empty Medevacs. Big EMP, by the way. In the meantime, we do have a flanking High Templar, however, coming from the side. Get some big storms off. Reinforcing Protoss units do also show up. Nice target firing right here by ByuN. Shuts down the Immortals, but loses so much in the process. He pulled SCVs as well from that third base to try and make this attack happen. In the meantime, there are still squads of Marines and Marauders as well in the middle of the map. MaxPax, during all of this, starts up a fourth Nexus. Archons can't really go down the ramp. I don't think there's enough right here for Max to actually clean this up. Although he does have reinforcing units coming in around the site. What a game. So far, this has been extremely action-packed. I mean, we all know that ByuN is known as Micro Jackson, right? Like, that's what they call him. He's got a, you know, he's got a bit of a similar look. It's like a Korean Michael Jackson sometimes. Anyways, especially when he first came out of the military. I guess his, he probably had lost some weight or something in the military. There's some photos going around on the internet. It's pretty funny, but anyways, he's known as Micro Jackson because he's ridiculously good at controlling his units, right? MaxPax, though, for most folks out there, is more of a macro toss. But it seems to me that he has been working on his micro game a lot. Super difficult game for them to gauge right now, though, right? Like, we have the perfect information and we can see exactly how much supply the players have, but imagine being in MaxPax's shoes or in ByuN's shoes right now. Like, how in the world do you make an estimation as to what your opponent has? Well, he gets an Immortal over there. Sentry as well, not bad. Zealot run by, though. And this is one of the moves that MaxPax always has going for himself. Super annoying, but the bunker is going to be a safe haven for that ghost, and the depot was erased in time. Okay. Fourth Nexus, though, is up and running. MaxPax now sitting at 70 workers. 70 probes is ridiculous. We have some High Templar inside of the Prism, too. Good Storm. Not an amazing one, but good enough. ByuN already pre-splitting the majority of his units here, just trying to mitigate any potential splash that could be coming in. Okay. Now here's the problem. MaxPax can keep this going for a long time. He can effectively warp in this variety of units, maybe even add in Colossi as well, over and over and over again. And even if in isolation ByuN has good traits, it's really difficult for him to be able to compete with the economy right now that MaxPax has. MaxPax is effectively getting, like, I don't know, like 50% more income for every minute that goes by. So, for ByuN, how in the world do you stop this swarm? This is the new flavor, of course, of Protoss. It's not just the High Templar, but it's also then leveraging them into a bigger economy to try and just use the Zerg powers, right? But then as a Protoss, they try to overwhelm the opponent with sheer amounts of stuff. Still, those Terran units work together very nicely. Some excellent pickup micro there as well by ByuN. Nothing really synergizes as well in StarCraft 2 as Marine Marauder Medevac. Ghost in the mix as well, of course, for APM. Here's the next source of splash damage, though, and that is a big problem here for Taran. Another Zealot run by, set up over towards the third. Widowmine does see it, but Yeah, do you really return back home? Ooh, looks like the rocks have been knocked down too, just to slow down the advancement here. And again, right, this is the real problem for ByuN. Income advantage per minute is just so heavily in favor of the Protoss right now. How do you stop the flood? MaxPax doesn't even need to be aggressive right now. He can sit back for a little bit and just go again when he's maxed. When he's maxed. Fifth Nexus right now starts up too. ByuN's probably thinking about flying the old main command center somewhere over, I don't know, to the right or maybe over here to the north. Not a bad idea. But you have 42 SCVs only. Like, urgency here should certainly be a problem for ByuN. Like, he needs to move. He did already build a bunch of Vikings, and at the very least, that's making life a bit easier for him. He expected that the Colossi would be coming up, but he's not really able to start up 2-2 upgrades. He's not really able to start up a 4th command center. This is now, for all intents and purposes, an all-in, and I don't believe he's got the numbers to pull it off. Those Colossi are so dangerous. You would really want to have like 12 Vikings or so against this as a Terran right now, but you don't. Soon they're gonna hit a big power spike as well with additional ranged. MaxPax getting the extended thermal lens. Okay, ByuN goes around the site though and may be able to actually outmaneuver this Protoss army for a little bit. Does he have enough to really deal damage? We do need some storms. Okay, the EMPs are good. Huh? ByuN actually still making his army somewhat work. Not the best trade here whatsoever for MaxPax. He loses so many important units. But honestly, any trade is good enough right now for Max. Ultimately, that was a lot of losses on both sides. And again, with the additional income coming in, MaxPax should be cruising. Still, it's not really reflected yet in the supply count. Those Colossi are expensive, those upgrades aren't cheap. You invest into all of this infrastructure and it takes a while. Now here's the old main base, making its escape up north. ByuN will have new minerals to mine, so at the very least that's something. He did, by the way, smash his piggy bank as well, and he did get the 2-2 going. It's a very big power spike for the Marines and the Marauders. MaxPax may actually be underselling his situation a little bit. I wonder if at this stage in the game he believes he's not in as good a position as he is. At least he's playing this a lot more cautiously than I expected. Looks like we are gonna go for a nice and quick 6th base as well, though. It's triple command center, man. Obviously, that's one of the big downsides for Protoss here. You can't fly the Nexus. So he does have to invest, again, additional money on infrastructure. Another Nexus is 400 minerals, and he may very well need 2. Since the natural and the natural, or the Nexus over here in the natural also is soon not gonna return any money anymore. Difficult call to make. Supply-wise, ByuN really is competing though. If you look at the army, 92 army supply for Taran, 77 right now for Protoss. Obviously, he can increase those numbers very rapidly, but it is something worth noting. Mules are extremely useful here for Taran still, and even though he has had some energy on those orbital commands as well, you never really want to be caught off guard without vision, or say, for example, if the opponent does decide to go for a Dark Shrine, you need to have some form of detection available in a pinch. But mules are still very powerful here for ByuN. And despite having way less workers, he is making this a competitive game. This choke point, I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good for MaxPax. Choke points pretty much always benefit the player with ranged units, right? And, well, all Terran units are ranged. Other than the SCV, some good storms again, though. Vikings are starting to hunt down the Colossi. The Marines and the Marauders are showing up. The High Templar numbers are not as significant as you would imagine. I feel like that's one of the themes in Classics play in particular, man, where Classics seems to have like a dozen of those bad boys. There's always a couple sitting around. Yeah, maybe get some more of them going. I don't mind it. Classic always seems to have at least one on every base, and if you drop there, he's gonna storm you, but also likewise, if you attack him through the center, you're gonna have to keep EMPing the army, because there will always be more High Templar. New command center, by the way, is finishing up right now as ByuN also snatches a bunch of units. Okay. Is ByuN actually doing this? I mean, the last few minutes have gone way better for him than I think anybody could have expected. Colossi, though, are starting to hurt right now. Then again, they are mostly hitting Marauders. That is not the unit you want them to be fighting. Some good storms, though. Medevac numbers are still big. 6 of them in total right now. Not too significant. Either way, ByuN is not slowing down with the upgrades now. He found it difficult to go into the 2-2. Now that he's got the 2-2 done, though, he's immediately gone into the +3/+3. Planetary Fortress is likely going to be coming up over here at the 6 o'clock position. Okay. Now, what do you do right now here as MaxPax, right? You have a couple options. You could go into Tempest if you really want to. Then again, though, do you expect this Terran to really make a transition towards Liberators? I don't think so. I think MaxPax can continue building up his economy as it is. I wonder actually if he should have pushed even higher in the worker count. Like 70-ish workers is okay. I think he could have gone up to like 80, 85 or so. It would have given him a much bigger bank to deal with, or at the very least to try and counter the Terran player with. Because this game is still looking awfully close. MaxPax right now, though, on the hunt. Not a bad storm to start the engagement off, but he's having a difficult time actually finding a spot to fight. ByuN inviting him into the choke point. One High Templar levitates forward. Storm going in around the flank. Nice counter right there by ByuN as he does EMP it. Looks like he's going to get a Colossus for his troubles as well. Great movement here by ByuN. Man, how is ByuN even pulling this off? Actually insane. Ay, ay, ay. I feel like MaxPax has been at 70-something workers ever since ByuN had 3 command centers and like 40-something workers. Like, the game looked pretty much over 10 minutes ago, and yet here we are. Very little seems to have changed on the side of the Protoss, although he's finally maxed out right now, whereas ByuN has been solidifying his position a lot. Some good snipes. Some good snipes do go down. The EMPs are powerful as well. Colossi, though, are going to be able to deal a lot of damage into this type of choke point. Good spread right there. Good concave on the Protoss army. High Templar, though, are out of energy. Great micro right there by ByuN. Colossi have now disappeared. Immortals are not living up to their usernames, and the High Templar are getting sniped because they're a little bit slower. ByuN grabs the supply lead. There is no way. He's celebrating right now by making a second starport. ByuN basically sniped all of the robo units and then all of the expensive gateway units too. Effectively, what's left over here for MaxPax is stalkers and zealots, and those are exactly the units that you make to lose. Like, they are mostly there to buffer the rest of the army. ByuN is somehow, some way sifting this Protoss ball into all of the important units, and he sniped all of them, even though they were the ones to be protected. New Nexus, by the way, in the far bottom right corner as well. ByuN did sneak out a round of SCVs, now all the way up to 61. That storm right there, though, was good for Max. MaxPax needs to be very careful. Because not only is this a frustrating game for him right now, this is the type of game that can set the mood for the rest of the series. It's so easy to just get very tilted by this, because this was certainly MaxPax's games to lose, and I mean, honestly, he's still in a very playable position, don't get me wrong. But this is starting to feel like it's slipping out of his fingers. ByuN doing ByuN things, microing better than pretty much any other Terran out there. Fighting on the static defense is dangerous, though, but he does get a couple of storms to the face as he also snipes a Colossus. Okay, this fight is no good for ByuN. He needs to get out of here. Static defense, extremely good. We get a feedback as well on some of those medevacs. Making it difficult for the rest of the Marines and the Marauders to continue fighting in a moment. The Zealots now also do show up. MaxPax has economy now again going in the far bottom right, too. I don't think this is spotted at all by ByuN. ByuN could easily go ahead and send a group of, well, bio units, even a Liberator, whatever, in that direction to start harassing it. Now suddenly, though, he's on the hunt. MaxPax, that is. He is on the hunt to try and see if he can obtain the victory in this game still. Needs to be careful, though. The EMPs are so freaking good. I feel like this entire Protoss army has been without shields for a long time. High Templar, though, can get countered, of course, as well. We have the Colossi once more being a target, but the Stalkers have now won the majority of the ground war, and that means that the Zealots are starting to slip through the cracks. Archons here and Colossi just mostly to soak up damage and to deal some damage in the, well, main engagements too. The Zealot run-bys, though, they're dangerous. More reinforcements show up for MaxPax. He's been leading the economy for literally 15 minutes. But we have only seen a 15 supply lead. So he's gained 1 supply for every minute that's gone by. Not ideal, but maybe it's enough. Not a whole lot of Vikings remain, though. Good targeting as well with the Marines and the Marauders, though. Stalker's trying to see if they can get rid of the Vikings, and all of them are now gone, but there's plenty of Marauders left over. High Templar coming in clutch once more. I feel like every time... Ooh, that was a big storm, another big storm! Every time these engagements are about to flip, there's another High Templar that shows up. Probably one that was protecting the expansions, and... Okay. Natural expansion, by the way, for ByuN did already move a little while ago. How many orbitals do we have at the moment? Okay, yeah, this is the natural right over here, moving to the far left side of the map. How is this game still going? Like, that's the main surprise that I have here. I feel like it was over and done at the 10-minute mark. Hats off to ByuN. Even if he loses this, the fact that he's hung in here and actually is making it look like he's... At least it appears to be a Terran comeback, right? It's kind of nuts. MaxPax is playing this out very slowly. But I think it's good enough. Like, he has now taken the top left base as well as the far bottom right. ByuN will find out about this base right now. He still does not know about the expansion in the far bottom right. Planetary Fortress, of course. Okay. The Ghosts are, ooh, a little bit ahead of the party. 1 Marine also gets sniped. Normally, that's not noteworthy, but in these type of games, every single, well, army unit matters. MaxPax really doesn't want to give his opponent another base to be mining from. The Ghost numbers are very high, by the way. Only 3 High Templar at this stage in the game. Maybe MaxPax is deliberately switching away from High Templar. As OP as the unit has looked over the last few months, he has used them now to bait out a stupid amount of Ghosts, but against like a robo-based army, so 5 Colossi, Mass Immortal, Stalker, Zealot. I mean, you really don't need a whole lot of Ghosts. Can't afford a lot of Vikings. This base is absolutely critical. If it goes down, ByuN is going to have a super difficult time sticking in. Let's see. The Colossi numbers are so ridiculous. We have a Terran army, though, flanking, but it looks like the flanker may become the flankeed. The command center itself, by the way, fell. A crazy engagement, as MaxPax is not just stuck in a concave, he's stuck in a circle, but he may just have the number advantage. Not enough Vikings actually stay alive, and just like that, MaxPax obtains the victory, but man, did he have to fight for that. Whew, okay. Game number 2. We find ourselves on Tokamak. Really, ByuN? Actually, the scoreboard is wrong. There we go. ByuN is sending out an SCV. Sure, why not? I really like the ebb and flow right there of the High Templar. So against the High Templar Zealot-based army, you really want to have Ghosts. But if Protoss detects that you have too many Ghosts, maybe switching to a full Robo army is actually the way to go forward instead. It seems like that will be the next step in the TVP mid to late game meta. Either way, ByuN is not looking to play another long game, it seems. Proxy Barracks going up on... Oh! On the other side of the map. Although this is a Protoss player who's been cheesed one too many times. MaxPax spots it immediately. Additional probes have been pulled out of the main. Obviously, there's no nexus or anything like that yet, and ByuN just straight up gives up on it. Okay. Ha! He cancelled the barracks and goes straight into a command center. So in a very weird way, this is a command center first, but kind of a late command center first. God, I love watching ByuN. He's so much fun to watch. He's like, well, I guess I'll have to do something else that is the exact polar opposite of what I was just trying to do on the other side of the map. Proxy barracks turned into a command center first. Very cool. Now, normally, right, in that previous game, Taran would transition to Liberators. And Liberators are the norm in the TVP late game. But I'm pretty sure that an entire game long, ByuN felt like he was behind. And that's the real problem with going into Liberators. You can't really make the transition if you are behind. There's a lot of strategies in StarCraft 2 that only work if you are like at least even or maybe slightly ahead. Then you can make that switch. But if you're behind, you kind of can't really afford all of the additional tech, all of the, most importantly, I guess, the additional time, right? Where you kind of need several minutes to be able to build up a number of libs. And as soon as you start making Liberators, usually that also means you have to like take your foot off the gas. You have to basically allow the Protoss to be the aggressor for some time. And ByuN was trying to avoid that to the best of his ability. So very fun back and forth there in that previous game. And now a complete, well, pretty much role reversal here on Tokamak, as even though it was meant to be a proxy barrack start, it looks like MaxPax gets to be the aggressor instead. Cyclone will be his early game weapon of choice once again. Quite like this, actually. Getting the supply depot started, just to make sure that you can wall yourself in fully. This is called a door, MaxPax. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Protoss players around the world trying to study it. To be fair, if you can teleport anywhere you go, you probably wouldn't need doors anymore either. Ooh, not bad. Gets an SCV kill, I guess. He wants to finish it. Supply depot, though, can't be repaired until it's done. Yeah, so now actually this brilliant move turns out a little bit awkward. As the adepts just walk in. Blink, by the way, on the back of this as well. This is a perfect situation for like a good old like blink all-in. If you wanted to go for like a 4-gate all-in, I feel like this is the time to go ahead and do so. Seems like a lot of the top-level Protoss players, though, have decided that you can do the same thing with 3 gateways as you can with 4. So even though MaxPax is one of the players that really popularized the 4-gate all-in again, right? About a year or two ago. He rarely actually plays it himself nowadays. Okay. MaxPax is gonna have to deal with this command center, though, on the low ground. I don't believe he's gonna just let this one slip into the game, because he's got the units right now, and he should have full map control. Problem here for Max is that he doesn't have a good answer against those siege tanks yet. You need to get, I mean, you could just walk over towards it, but you need to really get that prism in there, and then also those blink stalkers, right? You need that blink upgrade here in just a moment. Prism is going to be done, though, very soon. New command center did start up for ByuN. Look, ByuN is really looking to start up, for example, Stimpack and all the rest of it, but MaxPax is going to have full map control because of it for a long time to come, and I've got a feeling that these stalkers are going to be nearly impossible to stop. MaxPax has refined his stalker micro over the years, only losing 2 adepts for now. How in the world are you going to stop this? Well, if anybody can do it, maybe ByuN can. ByuN, though, has not really got a large army. There we go, aggressive blink forward. He's going to be able to pick up the weakened units, and MaxPax wins the game without losing a stalker. ByuN failed his double proxy barracks, and then follows it up with an extremely greedy triple command center. Well, maybe if Protoss decided to play greed on the back of it, right? So MaxPax is somebody that does that from time to time too. So ByuN looked a little bit foolish in that previous game, right? When you sum it up like that, like you fail that push and then you go for like the greediest follow-up. MaxPax, though, is also somebody that will look at an advantage like that. Are we doing it again? Okay. He will look at an advantage like that and then... Oh, God. Oh, Go for like a single gateway third nexus. That's what MaxPax could have done as well in that previous game. He decided not to, though. So... about this. I did not even know that you could fit a barracks right over here without it being spotted. I really thought that the worker scout going down the ramp would at the very least glimpse the barracks. I think it probably would see the SCV if the SCV is constructing it over here. Oh. Oh. It's going to be a 20 supply Cybercore into 20 supply Nexus. Okay, no. No, no, no. Well, that's a little awkward. Why would the SCV be coming in from that angle? I don't know if MaxPax was looking at that section of the map at that time. But if he noticed the angle in which the SCV came in, we may go ahead and check. Not the case. No. Now, it's going to be Reapers. Probably 2, if I were to make a guess. As long as MaxPax does go for like a very quick Adept, he should be fine. But he will need to dance. Chrono immediately? Okay, looks like we're going to go Stalker immediately. Fair enough. Stalker is going to take a little bit longer to produce, but... this is something, though, that MaxPax is generally very good at. Gets 1 worker so far. ByuN, that is. How much is he going to be able to do before Protoss gets the counter out? Yeah. Yeah, and when you see the really high-ranking Protoss players defend this sort of stuff, you look at it and you wonder if it's even ever worth it. Because this now looks a little bit foolish here for ByuN. Keep in mind that this is now ByuN's, well, lifeline in this particular series. It's a best of 5. MaxPax is 1 game away from winning. And we saw what he did with Elite in the previous one, right? He made it look pretty straightforward. Honestly, kind of nuts. So one of the scouting workers goes down there, but I mean, that proxy barracks, look at this. It's gonna have to make the flight of shame all the way back home. It'll probably add, I don't know, like maybe a tech lab or something like that eventually, but it really is slowing down anything that Protoss wants to, or what Terran rather would like to do here, quite significantly. Twilight Council though here for Max. And I would imagine we're gonna do the exact same thing again? Are we just gonna go good old Blink again? Sure. This time around, ByuN is not gonna follow this up with a very fast 3rd command center. Instead, we're transitioning towards effectively a 2-1-1. He already begins his siege tank production right now. Really just in anticipation of the Stalker switch. Main question becomes, what can MaxPax do when those Blink Stalkers are available? This is not necessarily the easiest map to go for a Blink Stalker push on, because there's this giant ramp right over here. Not really an easy way to like blink it to the main base, right? All of it is a little bit awkward with the mineral wall. Anyways, ByuN is gonna go for a Widow Mine drop. Yeah. This isn't 2011 anymore. He's being so annoying. I love it, though, from ByuN. Maybe not 2011. Maybe 2020 is a better way to put it. But, I mean, there was nothing going on at the same time. Obviously, MaxPax is not gonna lose, you know, an entire mineral line worth of probes. But ByuN is always checking. ByuN also sees, though, that there is no 3rd nexus over here at the northern section of the map. So maybe it could be over there. It's impossible to really keep tabs on everything. But we already know that this is going to be a committed push. So, 3 gateways, Blink Stalkers, they're done right now. Getting a Stalker kill in the middle of the map would be really nice. He's gonna get one. I don't know if I like this attack too much on this map. It feels very... I don't know. It feels very weak. This time around, of course, ByuN is also not nearly as greedy, so he actually has units. That helps. Okay, let's see. Ooh, there's a little get-together right over there, next to the barracks. Yeah. He's already aiming just for SCV kills, though. Ooh, don't lose the prism. It's fine. All right. Third Nexus did start up in the meantime. So as soon as MaxPax saw, okay, this isn't going to be good enough, he immediately did make the transition towards the third base. Ball is now in the court, though, for ByuN. He can go into Stimpack here. And I'm assuming that's likely what we're going to be seeing next. It still takes a very long time, but combat shields and Stimpack would make a lot of sense. He's probably going to add this barracks onto that tech lab. Yeah, so we have the cloaking field done. This one is mispositioned. And then we'll probably see it reposition itself in a moment to start up the combat shields. There we go. Cloak Banshees. Nope. Not going to happen. Man, I feel like a noob whenever I accidentally misposition a barracks onto a tech lab, but it's nice to see it happen as well to a programmer. That happens to any Terran out there, okay? You are not alone. Even ByuN miscontrols it sometimes. So those Banshees, yeah, they got a bit of work done. Really nothing to write home about, though. Still, this game is actually quite a bit better now for ByuN than he probably also anticipated it to be. The early game was a little bit messy. MaxPax wanted to try and get a cheap win. This time around, ByuN actually made army, so it didn't work out. Now, one big problem here, one big asterisk right next to ByuN, is that he doesn't have a third command center. Is he gonna pull the boys, or are we expanding behind this? Looks like we're expanding behind it instead. Much like MaxPax, it'll be difficult to really go for a killing push right now, because again, similar map layout, of course, on the other side of the map too. Matter of fact, it's identical. MaxPax is going to have similar advantages. Third command center does start up right now, though. Storm is coming, but it's obviously not yet done. Still, ooh, nice force fields there, but are there enough units? That's my main problem. I don't think so, no. Very ambitious shove forward right there by MaxPax. He was hoping that maybe he was going to be able to just destroy that army. Sliced it in half, but then he realized he had like 3 zealots. Medevac drop in the meantime goes across as well. Probes are dying over at the third. Okay. Best case scenario right here for ByuN. We do have a big warp in immediately inside of the main, but so many workers have died. And this is not the type of advantage that you can really give away right now as a Terran, right? I mean, this is the best case scenario. Especially after a sloppy early game. Especially when you don't go for an SCV pool. Although in this kind of instance, I think he could have gone for an SCV pool and won the game here at this point in time, but third CC, though, is done. And with the third CC, we go into a Ghost Academy as well. Here's the problem, though, for ByuN. I have seen ByuN do this several times now, especially during the EWC, where he really does not want to play against Storm, so he kind of, like, over-pushes. Like, he gets too aggressive. And you do have to pace yourself a little bit here as the Terran. It's very tempting to just try and pile on the pressure and hope that you can just win the game. But High Templar are here. Storm is done. The genie is out of the bottle. We can't really continue pushing here with all our might and just, you know, hope for the win immediately. Calm and collected is probably the way forward. Now, I would love to maybe see some storm drops here from MaxPax. It's difficult to pull off, but maybe that's one way to grab the supply lead again. Good storm over there. MaxPax, by the way, not really adding on too many new workers. Only sitting at 39 here. Not a whole lot. Little zealot run by as well over at the third. I don't mind that. Prism does go into the main base. Ambitiously positioned. Okay. Storm. Yeah, gets the SCVs and a bunch of Marauders. Another good storm on the back of this too. And you can kind of see why ByuN's nightmares have just been High Templar as of late. There was a counter-attack too, by the way. Apparently he killed 11 additional workers, but what about this main army? Reinforcing Terran units are popping out of those barracks. My god. MaxPax still showing us that he is not gonna go down without a fight. Worker count right now, pretty much identical once again. ByuN obviously has mules though, right? And we've already seen what he can do with a economy that was like 20 workers less than the opponent. So that means, of course, when he's got an equal economy right now, an even number of workers, he is going to be able to build more stuff off of it. So MaxPax still feels like he needs to be the aggressor, and he's certainly right. Okay. Difficult game right now, though. We're 11.5 minutes in. ByuN is stuck on 2 bases. At this phase in the game, as we have some snipes coming in, not bad. At this phase in the game, though, Taran really doesn't have a whole lot of mining anymore. Like, those mules are so nice, but they also force you to run out of minerals real quick. So he needs a base very soon, and he's gonna have to walk through the Valley of Storms. Well, maybe not. I don't think there's that many storms. Okay, Ghost does fall over here. Marines and Marauders, though, pre-split pretty nicely. Third command center is going to be secured again. High Templar does get a juicy hit off, but all the Templar are now also dying after they cast their Psi Storm, so it's really not the end of the world. Very ambitious right there by MaxPax. ByuN has broken, though, out of his own natural expansion, and MaxPax can't really macro his way out of this. Okay, so ByuN gets a point on the board. A very messy point, but you know what? It still counts. Now we find ourselves on ley lines. Are we gonna attempt any proxy barracks? Are we gonna send any early game units across the map? No, doesn't look like it. ByuN clearly feeling like he needs to do something in the earlier stages of the game just to stay even with the opponent. So far, though, in this particular game, we don't have any crazy starts. MaxPax is just walling off the top of the high ground. Maybe a little bit odd, but not extremely weird. Yeah, everybody keeps trying to throw MaxPax off. MaxPax is just trying to play a nice little macro game. Why does everybody have to bully him? You know, every time he tries to play a macro game, there's always Terran players trying to hinder him, trying to slow him down, trying to skill check him every couple of minutes. Not the case. Okay. Barracks in the main base. Command center on the low ground here in just a moment, I suppose. We'll probably have a orbital command here inside of the main base immediately. There we go. And then a CC on the low ground. CC in the main? Okay. So ByuN actually just really kind of concerned here. It's actually fun to see this. For a very long time, Terran players would always blindly make their command center on the low ground. But more and more over the last few months, have we seen Terrans get comfortable just building the second command center inside of the main base and being prepared to fly it down towards the low ground. And with the CC on the low ground, you can actually put in quite a bit of work, right? But if you lose it while you're building it, that is pretty much game over. And I like to see this mostly because people in the Twitch chat in particular have told me many times over the years that it's pretty much impossible, okay, to build the CC in the main base and then fly it down to the low ground. You waste too much time doing it. So I feel vindicated whenever I see pro gamers do this. Just so we, we're all in the clear. It really doesn't matter that much. But you can let the mule over here and then fly it down to the low ground, or you can fly it down to the low ground first and then make it into an orbital, whatever you prefer. I think going for the orbital quicker is better. Either way, Twilight Council will be MaxPax's weapon of choice. And I'm assuming it'll be Blink, just like every time. Yeah. Not the most creative player in the world, right? At least not when it comes to, I don't know, Proxy Tempest or anything along those lines. That is what somebody like Hero likes to go for. Cyclones here are really good, though. Yeah, Cyclones can eat those Adepts alive early on. It's really nice. Okay. Extra gateways here on the low ground. A robo facility as well. MaxPax apparently has become a fan of walls. Look at that. We have a wall inside of the main base, a wall inside of the natural expansion too. And I'm assuming we'll be walling off the third base at some point. I mean, that's difficult to pull off. You need a lot of structures. Okay. So, where do we go from here? Blink is about 2/3 of the way done. It's only 2 gateways for now, though. 2 gates together with a robo facility, so this will be a nice and quick third. As Protoss, you always have to choose, okay, do I want to go for a third gateway? Do I want to even go up to 4 gateways? Sometimes we see a third nexus off of just a single gateway. Either way, the dance can begin. Do we have enough? Blink is not yet available, though. Oh, he retargeted onto the far away one. Apparently, ByuN wants to grab both of the Stalkers, maybe even all? No. A little bit greedy. In the meantime, there is one Adept going to town as well. Maybe that's what reset some of the targeting there. Either that or he did it on purpose, hoping that he could have the cake and then eat it too. Okay. A little bit of damage done here by Max. Nothing all too crazy though, but that's the nice thing about the double gateway start. Any damage you can deal here is pretty good. This third nexus needs to be addressed. It's very much up to ByuN to try and slow it down. Now the third gateway is available though. Let's see. You can actually warp in some additional reinforcements. Ooh. Siege tank gets sniped. Good control right here actually by MaxPax. MaxPax trying his very best to just hit whatever he can, and so far the juggling on those Stalkers is excellent. Keep him alive. Ooh, 7 SCVs just like that. There is in the meantime also a Banshee inside of the main base, and that is mostly just here to force in a warp in from MaxPax. MaxPax goes around the side as well. Prism inside of the main base too. We do a little bit of multitasking. Fair enough. What about the fight over here in the natural, though? Because the one in the main base is getting shut down. Stalkers for Max, though, still hanging around in the main base of his own as well. And yeah, they're going to be occupied to base defense. You can always blink them down to the low ground. No cloak available, though, here for ByuN, right? So all of this is acceptable, I think, for MaxPax. Like, he's got 55 workers right now. Killed 12 SCVs in total, which is really quite good. And of course, his follow-up is going to be, there it is, the Templar Archive. I quite like that. Good old Templar Archives. We'll probably be adding on the Storm in a moment. ByuN, though, is gonna have an opportunity to go for a push with Stimpack before his opponent really can reliably counter it. I mean, there is Charge, there is Blink, but Charge is not nearly as scary as Storm. The longer he waits, though, the scarier the Protoss army will become. We're once more arriving at that point in the game, right, where Protoss has the eco lead. And even though it's not as significant as in the first game of the series, MaxPax is now starting to outgrow the opponent quite a bit. Storm coming up. Chrono being used. Okay. Oh, did he see that? I think MaxPax may have seen it. Yeah, he warps in whatever he can over here. Bunch of Stalkers at the front as well. Nice 1-2 punch by ByuN, but too quick on the keyboard here is MaxPax. He decides to recall those Stalkers back home. Okay, medevac goes down. And while all of this is kind of expensive, nice control there on the Stalkers. Nice control as well on the Marines, though. Maybe he can justify this by going for a push right now straight to the third. There's a lot of stalkers that are making their way down to the low ground. ByuN trying to get this engagement started before that point. MaxPax decides to back up. Stalkers are gonna be joining in though, and Storm is 1 second away from being done. Okay. No, I think this is good enough. In the meantime, okay, there is also a Zealot run by right over here inside of the main base, and that Zealot run by made everything more difficult. Looks like ByuN also hit a supply block, so unfortunate series across the board right here for ByuN. It's not that he played poorly, but he got outplayed throughout the games, and that is not really ever something you want to hear. But MaxPax played a rather messy series, actually. I feel like most of the time when we see MaxPax play, it's a little bit more textbook. It's a little bit more of like an Excel spreadsheet, but apparently he's not afraid to go wrestling in the mud with one of the world's greatest Terrans, and he did so very well.